Hi everyone, and welcome to this virtual classroom where you will be introduced to Excel and the use of a spreadsheet. The objectives for this unit is to learn how to plan an effective workbook and worksheet design, explore the Excel window, enter and edit cell data, manage worksheets, manage columns and rows, select, move, copy, and paste, apply alignment and font options, apply number formats, select page setup options, and print a workbook. Let's begin by placing the Excel program on our desktop. We learned this in our Windows 7 unit by clicking on Start, All Programs, locating our Excel program, and we can press Control, click, and drag to our desktop. And then by double-clicking on the icon, we open up our Excel program. Now let's discuss an introduction to spreadsheets. A spreadsheet is an electronic file that contains a grid of columns and rows used to organize related data and perform calculations. Excel is a spreadsheet program used to create and modify electronic spreadsheets. Before the existence of spreadsheet programs like Excel, people would handwrite figures into a paper ledger to track the quantitative data. An electronic spreadsheet makes data entry changes easy, and if the formulas are correctly constructed, the results recalculate automatically and accurately. When we first open up Excel, we are presented with what's called a workbook, which is a collection of one or more related worksheets contained within a single file. Each worksheet is identified by a Sheet tab. So at the bottom, you'll notice Sheet 1, Sheet 2, and Sheet 3. By default, every new workbook you open up in Microsoft Excel contains 3 worksheets. Now, an individual worksheet is a single spreadsheet that typically contains descriptive labels, numeric values, formulas, functions, and graphical representations of data. Figure 1.2 in your textbook, as well as shown here, illustrates a completed worksheet. As we look at our Microsoft Excel program as a blank document, we notice that it is a grid. And we must realize that worksheet rows lie horizontally, worksheet columns lie vertically, and are labeled from A to Z. A cell is the intersection of a row and column, which we discussed in our Word unit when we discussed inserting tables. Each cell has a cell address made up from the column letter and the row number. For example, the cell address of the top left cell is A1. Figure 1.3 in the textbook, as well as shown here, illustrates the Excel window. The name box displays the address of the selected cell. The formula bar displays the contents of a cell, including a text or numeric entry or the content of a formula. The Select All button is used to select the entire worksheet. Row headings appear on the left side and are numbered 1, 2, 3, etc. Column headings appear above the columns and are labeled A, B, C, etc. Sheet tabs display the name of the worksheets located at the bottom. The default names are Sheet 1, Sheet 2, but can be renamed. The status bar at the bottom displays information about the current operation in progress. The insert function, which is the FX, allows you to insert a formula. The mouse pointer looks like a hospital sign. And by selecting a cell, a dark border appears, and that is called the active cell. At the bottom left are the Sheet tab navigation buttons that allow you to navigate through all the sheet tabs that may be listed. The active cell, which was discussed a second ago, is the current cell actively selected. To distinguish the cell, Excel places a black border around it and displays its cell address in the name box. Excel offers many techniques to navigate to a particular cell, including mouse clicks, arrow keys, or pressing the Enter or Tab key. Entering and editing cell data in Excel is important to creating your worksheet. There are 4 types of data that you can enter into a cell, which include text, values or numbers, dates, and formulas. Figure 1.4 in your textbook, also displaying here, displays each type of data. As shown here, text is any combination of letters, numbers, symbols, and spaces, not used in calculations. Special entries like phone numbers and social insurance numbers are considered to be text even though they contain digits. By default, text entries are left aligned in a cell, although alignment options such as centering can be used under the Home tab. Multiple lines can be entered in the same cell by pressing the Alt-Enter key combination between the lines. And as shown here, values and dates represent a quantity upon which math calculations can be performed. Values and dates can be entered using common formats including percent and dollar signs. By default, numeric entries are right aligned in a cell, although other alignments such as center or left are possible, which again are located under the Home tab. To edit the content that is already in a cell, there are multiple ways that this can be done. You can either click on the formula bar and make your changes. You can make the changes directly in the cell, or you can press the F2 key on your keyboard and allow it to make changes the same way. It is very important to have a planning structure for your worksheets before creating an Excel workbook. First, state the purpose of the worksheet. For example, the purpose might be to compute the cost of a number of products given their quantity and unit cost. Decide what input values are needed by establishing the input area. The input area is a range or group of cells. Decide what output values are needed where the output area is also a range of cells. Assign the inputs and results into rows and columns. For example, you may choose to enter each product in a row where the quantity and unit cost values are in columns. The results might also be placed in a column. After entering the input data consisting the labels and values, check that the formulas are correct. Formatting the worksheet adds decoration to enhance readability and appeal. Always remember, 90% formula, 10% format. You would never want to hand in a worksheet without some sort of formatting, as it adds the decorations to enhance the readability. Numeric formats might include currency format to display dollar signs or percentage formats. Text formats might include colors, fonts, and other styles. Documentation of a worksheet includes the current date, the name of the author, assumptions, purpose, and other comments. Preview and prepare the printouts for distribution in meetings and send electronic copies as required. Once you have a generic plan in place as to how you want to create your Excel worksheet, you can also think about creating a multiple worksheet workbook which requires the planning stage. You can rename and apply colors to worksheet tabs for better identification. So at the very bottom, you'll notice, as we discussed earlier, that there's 3 default sheets that are already inserted into a blank workbook when you first opened Excel. By right-clicking, you can rename the worksheet and give it a name that would identify this particular worksheet. You can also right-click and change the tab colors. You'll notice sheet 2 is blank, but again, we can rename it and also change the color. If sheet 3 is not required, we can right-click and delete. You can also move a worksheet which changes the order among the sheet tabs. So for example, if you wanted yearly rebates to come before potential rebates, we will click and drag it to move the worksheets. If you wanted to make a copy of the worksheet, which makes a duplicate sheet, if you right-click, move or copy, create a copy, choose the position where you want the copy, and click OK. And you'll notice that another worksheet, Potential Rebate 2, appears, which then can be right-clicked and renamed. And again, we can change the tab color. Excel offers many ways in which to insert content into an existing worksheet. Using the Insert command, you can select a row and add a new row above it, or you can select a column and add a new column to its left. So if I wanted to add a column between 5 and 6, I would click on the 6 and you'll notice that the entire row is selected. If I right-click, I can click Insert, and a new row is now automatically inserted above. If I wanted to insert a column, say to the left of D, I would select D. You'll notice the column is selected. Right-click on D, Insert, and a new column now has appeared to the left in between the C and the E. The same way as the insert was done, we can also delete. So if we wanted to delete the new column that we just inserted, again, left-click on the D, right-click on the D, click Delete. And again with the number 6, if you do not like using the right-click in the shortcut menu, you can also use the ribbon. So under the Home tab, you'll notice you have Insert, Delete, and Formatting. So we can hit Delete, and we can delete cells or delete the sheet row or delete the entire sheet. In this case, we're going to delete the sheet row. Now there always will be times where we'll need to adjust our column and row widths and heights to present our worksheet more appropriately. The column width is the horizontal measurement of a column. A column should be widened to fully display all data. If it is too narrow, text entries may appear truncated, meaning not all of it appears. And values will display the error message with the pound sign, as shown here. To enlarge a column to accommodate the largest entry, there's a couple ways that this can be done. The easiest way is to double-click the column border to widen the column to the right. So if I show my mouse, to select a cell, my mouse will have the mouse pointer looking like a hospital sign. If you place your mouse on the line between the two column letters, it turns into a line with two arrows. To widen this column, I can double click right here and it automatically widens for me. Or I can click and drag and size it to the potential inch or pixel that I prefer. Another way that to adjust your column width is by right-clicking, column width, and typing in a preset amount. The row height is the vertical measurement of a row. It is a value between 0 and 429 based on point size. So the same things apply. By clicking in between the numbers on the border line, I can double click to size it appropriately, or right click and go to row height, enter in a predefined size, or again I can click and drag. Now there may be times where you may need to hide columns and rows to not display data for other people to see. Hiding a column or row prevents it from displaying and printing. Use the Format command to hide or unhide the selected range. Remember, the values in hidden columns and rows may be used in calculations. Unhiding a column or row returns it to view. So there's a couple of ways that we can hide a column. If we were to select the C, and under the Format, we go to Hide and Unhide, and we can hide rows, hide columns, hide sheet. Hide columns. If you want to hide multiple rows at the same time, highlight by clicking and dragging. So we've just selected a range of rows. We can right click and hide, and the information disappears from display. To unhide it, however, we would need to select everything from before and after. So if we wanted to unhide the 5, 6, and 7th row, we highlight the 4 and click and drag to the 8. Right click and unhide allows us to unhide everything from the 4 to the 8. And this applies the same as the columns. We need to click and drag from the B to the D, right click and unhide, or under the Format menu, hide and unhide, unhide columns. When selecting multiple cells at the same time, we are selecting what's called a range, which is a rectangular group of cells. And the easiest way to select a range is to drag from the upper left cell to the lower right cell. A non-adjacent range contains a group of ranges that are not next to each other. So in order to do this, we would select the first group of cells, hold our Control key on our keyboard, so the CTRL, and select the next group. A range is selected to perform group formatting or to manipulate the group of cells as a unit with respect to moving, copying, or deletion. So for example, if I wanted to copy, I can select, copy, select another cell, paste. And let's undo. Another reason for selecting multiple cells is to move. To get rid of that moving border, we hit the Escape key on our keyboard, so the ESC key, which is usually located in the top left-hand corner of our keyboard. By selecting multiple cells, we can also move the data to another location on this worksheet. This time, by selecting, so using the hospital sign to select, we need to find the mouse pointer that looks like 4 double arrows. So we've learned this in Word by moving graphical objects. Same thing applies in Excel. The 4 double arrows on a mouse is the moving arrow. So by clicking and dragging, we can move the data to another location of the worksheet. And again, you'll notice that the values are truncated by the number signs because the column is too small. So let's make it bigger, and you will notice that the data has now been moved. Clicking undo a couple of times allows us to return to our original formatting. Now, as we've learned in Word, there are options to copy and paste. Excel has a special one called Paste Special. The Paste Special command is used to paste data from the clipboard using a different format. So for example, you might want to paste the formula results but not the formulas, or you might want to paste the values but not the associate format. So for example, if I wanted to copy the title Potential Rebate and I wanted to paste it over in my monthly, actually let's choose yearly rebates, but I don't want the same formatting. I can click on paste and I can just say, I can choose which one I'm looking for. And you'll notice that it just, potential rebate is pasted, but not the bolding and not the merging. So as I mentioned earlier, always remember 90% formula, 10% pretty. Formatting accentuates and draws attention to meaningful portions of a worksheet. Horizontal alignment position data between the left and right cell margins. Vertical alignment position data between the top and bottom cell margins, which is located under Alignment under the Home tab. The other option you have for your titles is the Merge and Center command, which is used to center a title over a range of columns, as displayed here. Titles on a worksheet should always display across the worksheet and also present being nice and big, bold, and maybe add some color. Another option is to, again, make our category column bigger by double-clicking. We can also use indenting within a cell to offset labels. So by clicking under the alignment, you will see our indenting for decrease and increase indent to allow the appeal to be more effective. You can also use text wrapping to make data appear to lie on multiple lines without inserting the manual break, which was discussed earlier, Alt-Enter. A border is a line that surrounds a cell or range, and the fill color is the background color of a cell or range. So if we wanted to color our cells, again, we can highlight, and this is our fill color, and we can choose a color. If we wanted our borders, we could highlight and our borders, and we could say all borders. Another formatting feature for Excel is numeric formats. Table 1.6 in your textbook, as well as shown here, shows you the common numeric format such as general, which is a number that is originally entered, a number, which is a number with or without the 1000 separator, which is the comma, currency, a number with the 1000 separator, the comma, and with an optional dollar sign to the immediate left, accounting, which is with the separator and the optional dollar sign at the left cell border, date, which is in different ways such as today's date, or we can use numerical date, and also time. And time can also be shown in different ways, whether it's the 12-hour or the 24-hour time clock. For negative values, we usually would include in parentheses, which is our brackets, or also place them in red color with a negative sign. Additional numeric formats include percentage, which is a value that would be multiplied by 100 with the percent sign. Fractions, which is a number as a fraction appropriate when there is no exact decimal equivalent. Scientific, which is followed by a whole number exponent of 10. Text, which we discussed earlier, which is data that's left aligned. And special, which is our special characters adding such as hyphens. So for example, a phone number or a social insurance number. You can also custom and predefine your own custom formats as well in the number dialog box. Figure 1.36 in your textbook, as well as shown here, illustrates the numeric formats as they appear on any worksheet. So the same as in Word, Excel also has dialog boxes that we can click the dialog box launcher to appear. So the first one we'd like to discuss is using the page setup. So under page layout, we click the page setup dialog box, which contains many common print related options. So the margin options set top, bottom, left, and right page margins. The default page orientation is portrait, while landscape is used to print sideways. Landscape orientation is useful when there are more columns than rows. The size option lists standard paper sizes, with the default set to 8.5 inch by 11. In the print area option, it is possible to set the range of cells to be printed. The header and footer tab works exactly the same way as the headers and footers in Word. A header is content that appears at the top of each printed page, and a footer is content that appears at the bottom of each printed page. The header and footer tab of the page setup command also offers standard options such as a page number as well as options for customization. So if we wanted to click on Custom Header, you will notice that all your customizations are listed at the top, whether you wanted to format your text, insert a page number, insert a date, time, file name, sheet name, or even a picture. You can also print preview your document. Looks very similar to our Word, which is our backstage view. It is also very important to make sure we're printing exactly what we want to print. So we choose our printer. If you click down on our settings, the first one is print active sheet, meaning just sheet that we have selected will be printed. If we want the entire workbook, then we select the entire workbook. Or if we've just selected certain cells and just want to print just the selection, we would choose print selection. And all the other print options are exactly the same as when we learned them in the Word software. This concludes our virtual classroom for this unit. Please make sure to complete all of the exercises that are required for completion for this week.